So on this episode, I am super excited to introduce you guys to a group of individuals for me who have branded everything that I've done. You know, people will look at all the businesses that have been created and be like, how did you come up with that? Or why did you do it that way? Well, I'm here to tell you, I've got the people you've got to listen to today. I like to refer to them as the Lopez Brothers, but they do all have names and I'll share them with you. And they're all super talented in their own unique ways. But together, what they're capable of delivering is a business that hands down will stand the test of time. Because within that business, they will create a brand that really extracts everything about an individual and brings it to life. And that's exactly what happened with me and Jackie. So welcome, Lopez Brothers.
Thanks
for
having us.
Gabe and Ray. Welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
I'm super excited. So I just want to ask you guys, because everybody wants to know, like, who's the oldest? Who's the leader? So I'm curious, out of the three of you growing up, who was the one that said, all right, guys, follow me?
I definitely tried.
Yeah.
Whether they listened, whether anyone is actually behind me or not. But yeah, I'm the firstborn.
Okay.
So Gabe.
I probably led the most coups, the most revolts.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm the youngest. I was easily swayed by treats and snacks. And,
Right.
Yeah, I'll do that for a cookie.
Yeah.
So you would go to whatever side
Yeah.
that
Yeah, he's the constituent.
Yeah.
We would lobby for his
Yes.
support. Yeah.
Yes.
And so did you guys grow up all here in Florida in Bradenton, or where did you guys grow up? What was that like?
Yeah, partially. Ray and I were born in New Jersey, and then we moved to Florida when both of us were relatively young and lived in Orlando for a while, and then hopped over to Ocala for a short stint, and then ended up in Bradenton, Sarasota area. Now I live in Tampa. Ben lives in Tampa as well. Ray's still here, but yeah, we spent the bulk of our time in the little sunny area here called Sarasota.
Yeah, Florida,
Love it.
Florida through and through.
Yep.
And Tampa's amazing.
I love
mean,
it.
just
It's
a
such a great-
hotbed.
Yeah, it's
for
a great city.
business, branding, everything that you guys
Absolutely.
do. I know Brave People was housed up there for a very long time, which is where I met you guys.
Yep.
And just to share a little background, when I had originally come up with Jackie, it wasn't Jackie, by the way. It was actually, do you remember what it was?
Chatterbox.
Chatterbox.
Yeah.
Give all your girlfriends something to talk
The
about.
company formerly known as
Yes. And so I can remember going into these guys and being like, all right, here's my idea. I need a website, da, 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 da. Like I was so certain. And I think that happens in so many people's lives is they're so certain or set that they are not easily swayed. However, the Lopez brothers swayed me. So I went in and I was like, listen, we just need to get this up and running by January. Here's the idea. And I can remember Gabe looking at me and being like, oh, I don't know about that chatterbox. Like it's got this like negative connotation to it. Are you sure you want to name a business that? And I think for me at that time, I was like, well, why wouldn't I name it that? But then now 6, 7, 8 years into it, man, I'm so glad I didn't name it chatterbox.
Yeah.
But all that to say that I think that so many people get lost in the very first stages of having a concept. And one of the things that we talk about a lot on the podcast is how people can create other, avenues of making and building wealth, that being through business development. And I know you guys have done this numerous times, not just for myself, for y'all's selves and for others. And so I want you all to share a little bit about this branding process and how do people ever take what's in their head and bring it to life? Like, how does that process work?
Yeah, I mean, it's complex. It's different for every brand, different for every person. I mean, a lot of times, I think in your case too, Amber, like, you're meeting with someone who's a founder typically and is really passionate about their service or their product. And so, in the same way, I'm assuming that, when you're helping people get out of debt or deal with, their financial world, you kind of have to start with their worldview and who they are and, sort of identify some of their habits and some of their unique leanings, because oftentimes the brand is going to really replicate the founder. And so in our case, we kind of like pumped the brakes a little bit and said, let's do a couple of weeks of discovery. And if you will trust us, it's going to take longer than you probably anticipated or wanted for the pro forma, but we have to get immersed in your world, in your story, in the things that are important to you, so that we're really getting armed as extensions of the brand. So I would say in a nutshell, especially when you're working with a branding designer or service provider who's helping you with your brand, the best place to be is when that other person is starting to think the same thoughts and make decisions like you would make decisions. So then we're aligned where I don't have to check in with you constantly.
Right.
And I think that's when we finally got to the point of, naming Jackie and nailing the logo. It's we were finally thinking like you. And I was like, you know what? We're trying too hard. I mean, literally part of it was like, we're thinking too masculine. Like we're growing out. We're trying to make this logo so brutal and, like so
strong
Nike,
and powerful.
Yes, yeah. And we had to really like tap into another side of that. And at the time, I was married. So I was like, beautiful wife of mine who, loves fashion and has similar ideals. Like, what do you think? And so it's really pulling from all different types of inspiration and really trying to meet the need of the person you're working with. So that's from the perspective of like a service provider.
Got it. Yeah, no, that's good. And I think what I hear you saying is you didn't think I was a chatterbox when I met you because you extracted Jackie out of me instead. Yeah. No, but I think that's really good because I think a lot of people go in and they hire groups like you guys and then they're like, just do this for me.
Sure.
And people will take their money all day long.
Yep.
But do they really get in their world enough to know who is this person? What are they about? And what are they trying to deliver? And who's their demographic? And that's what you guys have done so well. So, and Jackie obviously has made a name for itself since then.
Yep.
So
Yeah, absolutely. I love what we do because we are coming alongside people with these crazy, audacious ideas, and we're trying to make those dreams come true.
Right.
And it's almost like a wedding planner, like, let's plan your perfect day. In the same way, like, I want your business to be successful, just like it was my own. And I think, when we unlock that in these founders and these like business owners, that's like the sweet, science of it all. That's where it comes together. And I think that's what makes me come alive, is like making your dreams come true. And now seeing like the office that we're in right now and seeing how far Jackie has come. Yeah. It's like, pat on your shoulder, like, we did it finally. Like this was so nice that it worked out together. You trusted us. We went on this journey. And, it's a product that's, look at the logo.
I know. I mean, it's crazy, but trust is a big deal.
Yes. Yeah.
And so for you all too, giving you the space to do what you do best and trusting that you have it. So many business owners, I was just talking with someone and she shared, I just don't trust anybody to do it the way I would do it. And I was like, oh girl, you've got to learn to trust people.
Yeah.
Because if you can't relinquish that, you're never going to find somebody who's going to take it to the next level, which is what you guys were able to do. So I know, Ben, you just created a brand with Ray that I'm excited for you all to touch on a little bit. And I've seen the logo and it's unbelievable. Thank you. Great job on that.
Thank you.
Ray,
Probably
you got to share this because I really am so excited.
Sure.
Just in lieu of everything that we've lived through with the pandemic. And, I actually did a podcast talking about the 2 top resolutions going into 2024. And obviously the first being fitness and people's health.
Absolutely.
So share a little bit about what you're about to go into.
Sure. Some of my consulting work put me into the medical field. And out of that, my eyes were open to how much people are spending on after problem care, right? Once you have the problem, doctors are great, modern medicine, wonderful, thankful for it. But if you do an ounce of prevention, right? Like it's so powerful. So me and my wife have started a company, Hosanna Health.
Love it.
And so we named it after one of our kids.
Is that the last child too, by the way? I just want to throw that in to see, is there more coming?
Actually, we're curious about this answer as well.
6 of 6. She's 6 of 6 right now, limited edition. Yeah. And so, we're really excited to have it launch. And Ben worked on it, actually created, designed the logo. And so what's cool about creating that is, even though it wasn't in front of a boardroom and very kind of like detailed out, still a good brand has the same type of process. So if you want to reduce it down and know that you can trust someone, honestly, in your own business, if you're going to scale it, if you're going to get out of debt, you need to make a plan. You need to set some ideals up on a whiteboard and say, this is where I'm going to go. And by having that open and inquisitive kind of like, well, who am I? What am I going to do? What are my goals? Then you could properly answer, chatterbox isn't it? Or, Jackie is it, and right. And then you can make
moves
accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Yeah. So we did that, although it was like over text message and shorthand, because we know
FaceTiming calls. Hey, I need this.
Yeah.
Hey, can you do
what
this?
about this? Do this. But Ben captured perfectly the fact that we're doing this, honestly for God.
Mm-hmm.
We believe that there's a lot of things on God's green earth that are here for our benefit, to help us to be healthy. And if you want to take part in an active, healthy lifestyle, then we're going to be providing some goods and services for you. So
awesome.
Yeah.
And I know the way you raise your children and the way
Mm-hmm.
Whitney runs the household. And like, I've seen her cook and just the nurture and care that goes into it. I think it's such a great product coming out of your household, because it's a reflection of who you two are, all the time, but it's just letting people behind those doors. Yeah. So that's incredible.
Yeah.
How exciting.
It's easy when a brand is authentic.
Right.
Because then you don't have to think about, wait, who am I?
Right.
It's just an overflow of who you are. So honestly, if you capture what you're doing already and kind of name it and make it clear, then the cool part is then you could share it with other people when you make it portable. When you say, hey, here's my 3 ideals, instead of having this big old paragraph, or here's my top 3, values.
Right.
Then you can tell somebody else. You can tell yourself, you can remind yourself, look in the mirror and be like, if you're ever deciding to do something different in business, and you're like, wait a minute, does this align?
Mm-hmm.
And then also to future employees, future growth, future markets. It's like, this is our core. This
You're
is
clear.
That is brand, more than just the logo.
Right.
That's brand to me.
So many people don't even know who they are. But they'll venture into these businesses, and then they're like, okay, what am I doing again? Who am I hiring? Who am I bringing in? And they get so lost in that. And I think that's actually a catalyst for why a lot of businesses fail, because they 100%. Were never authentic to begin with.
Yeah.
Correct.
I know none of y'all's businesses will have that problem.
We actually say that a lot, that like good branding is actually just telling the truth.
Yep.
And the way to be, competitive in a landscape where nowadays, which is a cool thing, a lot of brands are trying to tell the truth, consistently and authentically. And that authenticity word is such a buzzword now.
Right.
So now it just sort of comes on down to how consistently and creatively am I telling the truth? Am I telling my story? And again, just to like give you kudos, I mean, before Chatterbox was even a thing, it blew my mind that you were telling us as part of the discovery process that you're like, yeah, I just love bringing gals into my closet and just dressing them.
Yeah.
You were literally Jackieing.
I know.
Before.
I was jacking them up.
Yeah, exactly.
And now I have the men's line, and we call it Get All Jacked Up.
Exactly.
It's called Jack. So yes, to your point.
So when you have the product and it is an authentic, real story, man, it's almost like your job just not to screw it up, because you're going to succeed. Because,
true.
You are the story. You're literally just living and being who you are, and now doing it in a very like programmatic, curated way where, you got guys like us around you to say, Amber, you don't even know how good you are. Can we just, take this, bottle it, duplicate the SKUs and sell it, so yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I think one of the, some of my best memories were sitting creating with you guys at Brave when we first started. I mean, I can remember laughing so hard. We would the camaraderie of brainstorming. And when you get the right people on your team, if you're in business now or you're looking at going into business, you better put the right team together, because it does. Yeah. It makes a total difference. And you guys are lucky. You're brothers. Yeah. So you can help each other. And y'all are doing different stuff too now, too. Sure. You've got your hands in multiple things. You're true entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. So share a little bit about what you have working. I'm always scared to ask you that, Ben.
No, it's fine.
He's a man of mystery.
I like to keep it mysterious. Right now, actually, I am trying to go back into the agency world. So I worked at Brave for a while. I worked with Ray's companies for a while. And then I started out and did my own creative venture, The Late Night. And that's been awesome. It's been really cool to like be a consultant, to be a specialist, to drop in and like, help these companies all over the country. And it's almost like chasing after this, the entrepreneur dragon, if you will. It made me realize like, oh, I don't know if I care about it in this same way. So it's made me challenge and question my why. So actually I'm in a place where I'm working, more like in a full-time capacity at some other agencies, almost like figuring out, like going on my journey, figuring out with God, like what is my purpose?
I love that.
Even getting back into like ministry, into the church world. And so that's been really beautiful to like have this like reawakening and like new discovery. I'm 32, but I feel like I'm 22, you know?
Well, you kind of look like you're
Come on.
22
Yeah.
too.
So, you know, dye the hair. So yeah, I like to like almost call myself like a creative digital nomad, you know?
Yeah.
I like to, I'll help you with your brand. I'll help you over here. And I feel so fulfilled, and I feel like I'm actually living in my purpose and my calling with God. So that's been really cool. So right now, like the late night is semi on pause, but I like, you know,
You like
spinning
where
all the
you are.
plates. Yeah. I like being creatively free and not being, you know, held down to one spot. So.
And you know what? Something you said, I just want to touch on, because I know I've been guilty of it before. You know, we think just because we can do it, that's what we should be doing.
Absolutely.
Right. And then we lose sight of like, yeah, this is good, but is it God? And is it what
100%.
I should be doing? Is it where my time should be allocated? And what am I losing because I'm doing this? Or where is it pulling from? Because it's
absolutely.
always pulling from somewhere. And for you to be that clear, I don't think you could be more authentic.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying. So I think that's really cool that you came to that conclusion. Like, hey, like this entrepreneurship, it's great. And it's funny because Ryan, my husband, just had that epiphany like a little while ago. He's like, it's great. We've done it. But I don't know that I want to anymore, you know? And I think that we've got to get to the place as entrepreneurs where it's like we know when we're done. And we also know when that we just need to chill for a little bit and just be authentically who we are.
Yeah, and it's incredibly inspiring to have these two as older brothers. So I feel like my whole life I've been taking notes and, they did this mistake. Okay, I'm going to avoid this. Made my own mistakes, plenty. But it's cool to learn.
Did you also, like when we did something good? You just said mistakes.
Yes. I took note of those things.
Okay.
He was just jotting down the mistakes, checking them twice.
but to have people, you know, clearing the path in front of me. So I feel almost like I have cheat codes, you know, to life. And it's just been so cool, like following in their footsteps and doing this entrepreneur thing, and then realizing, no, it's not for me in that same way. And then I almost love coming alongside them and assisting their businesses. Ray, how can I help Hosanna? Gabe, how can I help Brave People?
So good.
So that, and again, I feel like it scratches my true like itch and the like creating and being like chasing after the creator. That is like inspiring, and you know, that's the purpose. That's
What number are you on the Enneagram?
I'm a 4.
Of course you are. You're creative.
He's got blonde hair.
I mean,
I have to be different, you know?
Yeah, but I love that. And for Ben, I think you guys have obviously, just by what he's saying, you've been his mentors, which is such a great relationship.
Oh, yeah.
So like, I'm dying to know your mom, your dad, where does all this creativity come from? And even though you three are so different, you still have the same underlying creative, advanced, like you've got this edge. Like, where does this come from?
I would say it's actually, we've been talking about this more recently. Like, I'm very grateful for my mom and dad's sort of like yin and yang kind of personality types where, you know, our dad's like super logical, super handy, super technical, definitely a creative streak as well because he was a musician. And that was a big piece of our, I guess, the like proving grounds of our creativity actually started in music. So we always joke around that like we were so easily amused. My dad would play La Bamba, you know, that song on this like old like Spanish nylon string guitar. And when he would get to the part that dun, 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 we would be like, this is so awesome. We have this like, we joke that it's like called the La Bamba laugh.
Right.
Because we're just so in awe of like this musicianship or whatever.
Wow.
And
what a great memory.
Yeah, it's hilarious. And then my mom, who, you know, she'll like self-deprecate and be like, oh, you didn't get it from me. But she is hilarious. Mm-hmm. She's so vibrant and energetic. And, you know, still to this day, like we'll be on the phone and she'll hit me with a zinger and I'm like, how do you know that, Mom? Or like, I didn't know you were paying attention to that cultural trend or whatever. So she's very observant.
She's a good test audience. She will call you on your bluff. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Any designs I do, I send it to her. Does this pass the mom test? And a lot of times they don't. And
that's a great point.
I got to
So
check
good.
myself.
So she's not just about like saying, hey, it's great because Ben did it.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
And truly, to give her credit, never to a point where like your soul is crushed, but she's just going to tell you like, because she loves us, like, that ain't it, you know?
Wow.
Yeah, she's like, I expect more, like calls us up.
Yeah.
You know?
She's got to be an 8. I think she may be an 8.
I don't know.
Actually, I've never asked, But so I think that example growing up probably like unbeknownst to us, you know, spurred us to where we've become or where we've gone because, you know, sometimes I'll think like, yeah, wait, where did I get this from? Like neither of them vocationally share this same passion, but I think like, man, it was actually a perfect, you know, dosage or whatever where... Right. And you know, again, they have sort of that classic like immigrant story, worked super hard, you know, crawled so that we could walk kind of thing. So that's another piece of it too. Like, you know, immigrating to this country and you know, being in church and serving the Lord and giving us just like the best chance at a great life and a life that's not just, you know, filled with purpose, but also that has like, I guess the way to describe it as good boundaries, good, you know, morals and, you know, a way of living, a rule of life, so to speak, that has guided us when it comes to like entrepreneurial decision-making. Because I think a lot of my peers, you know, they'll ask me, I started Brave when I was 23 and they're like, when I was 23, I was like, you know, and then insert some crime, you know?
Yeah,
and I'm like, and, you know, I look back and I'm like, you know, I agree with you. I don't even know what I was thinking. I was just.
And that's probably why it did so well.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you didn't think too much about it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, to be honest, like now I'm 37, been running this company for a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm much more risk averse than I was back then because I've seen some stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, man, if I only knew, like I wouldn't have done it. But I credit that to, you know, our family, our household. Of just,
I think also at church there was some pastors
major,
and some mentorship
that was huge.
Gave us keys to buildings that we shouldn't have had.
Literally.
Literally.
Yeah. Like, hey, you
it
lock
backfired.
Up for the
Yeah.
I mean, did you turn them into like pseudo offices? Like
pretty much. You know, that's where we got into content and mixed media. Like I started the company as like a designer and a videographer and a photographer and again, obviously a musician, all these things. I didn't know that was actually going to be a cheat code later.
Yeah, we were YouTube stars before YouTube in that way of like, as far as work ethic, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like we were doing church announcements. We were doing, you know, making songwriting, all kinds of things that just are prepping us for the businesses we're in today.
Literally, church is like a modern day incubator, like accelerator.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like,
you know what? I believe you.
Yeah.
I've seen so many talented people come out of the church that I attend Bayside.
Yeah.
And I actually have a few that work for me, a lot that work on the podcast and with social media. And you're right.
Yeah.
It is.
And we didn't know it, but, you know, we were learning all these things. We were being exposed to so many creative disciplines, you know, in music or in sound production or all these things. And then when I, you know, got into the working world, you know, I would be able to consult even on your project, you know, like, I mean, you know, handwriting your logo on one piece and then, you know, taking the photos, you know, of the models. And I don't even think twice about it.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, you know, okay, I'm going to pay someone who really knows what they're doing. You know?
Right.
But in those early days, just grinding, you're
do
like,
whatever it takes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it
absolutely.
makes a huge difference. I think we've all, in our earlier days, life was so different. So
For sure.
Well, and if you have kids and you're listening to this, get them started as young as possible. They're going to create things that you're just going to say, oh, that can't even make it on the refrigerator, right? However, how many of our stuff, right, just was like, hey, this is not show ready.
Right.
Yeah.
But you need those reps.
Yep.
And, you know, if you want to end up there, you have to take those steps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think for young kids, and even if you're, you know, you're not in the job that you want to be, or you're not exactly in life where you want to be, start. Start. The best time to start something, I think it's a saying for investing, the best time to invest is 30 years ago.
Right.
The second best time is today.
Right. Right.
So start today. Open up the YouTube channel. Do whatever it is that you've been thinking about doing. And start it, because luckily, if you don't quit, today's whatever it is will lend itself to tomorrow's, and tomorrow will be better than today.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's the
do it afraid,
consistency
you know?
in doing it,
Yeah.
just showing up. And I think so many people they're scared to start.
Right.
And so, but as you know, there's so many resources online right now. You can learn anything you want to know.
For sure.
Even around branding, social media, everything else. I have to be honest, I am so busy everywhere else that I don't even want to learn it, because then it's just something else I'll want to like control.
Yeah.
So, but I have such great people, and I'm seeing every single day, it seems like there's new apps coming out, but everything is right at our fingertips to learn. One thing you said too about your kids, because I know you model this well for your kids. I mean, you've run multiple companies, And I've even seen your son, Rennie. I can remember when he made those lights. Do you remember those?
Yeah. Lantern.
The most adorable lanterns. Okay, I was like, I've got to have them, Whitney. Get me some. But we don't realize how much our kids absorb of what we do in life. And you guys spoke highly of your parents and what you saw. My dad was an entrepreneur, but I know even for our kids, Connor, one of our kids at the age of 3, had a whole office underneath our staircase. I mean, he was wearing a business suit. I'm not kidding. And, at 16, he just, he's launched a Discord that, the kids making triple figures and he's going to school every day and he knows so much. But I think to that point, it's all about what we display for our kids in the next generation. Absolutely. Not just our kids, but even people that work. And I know you guys have had employees that work underneath you and just sharing them what's possible. I mean, you guys have proven it.
And can I add to that?
Yes.
You have been great at inviting someone in to the process. You've invited us in, right? And I think that's been the best thing that I've done, because sometimes where I feel like I've lacked mentorship, I was like, well, I'm going to be a mentor. I don't know what that is. I don't know if I have anything to offer, but I'm going to.
I'm getting you a sweatshirt that says that too.
I'm going to be a mentor.
Yeah. So can it say mental crossed out and then
it
say
might
mentor?
say mentor man.
Okay,
I
mentor
like
man.
that.
Okay,
Yeah.
with a little cape.
With a phone number, an email address. Apply here.
So I think there's a thing in surgery, or probably all doctors do this, but basically you don't really know it until you've actually taught it.
Yeah.
So like you learn, you're the student, then you're the doer, and then you're the teacher, and then that's mastery. That's what I would say, has helped us get to where we're at, is that we've also invited a lot of people. Kind of, again, you modeled it for us. Then we turned around and we said, hey, you're going to maybe not do the best job, or right out of the gate, it's not going to be great. But then there's something so rewarding when that person does get it. And maybe even like we've had to learn many a times, they won't even do their best work for you.
That's right.
You release them.
That's right.
And then they go on.
Yeah.
And
Guns
not that I say,
blazing.
Oops.
yeah. And not that you just can't be mad at that. You don't claim it like, oh yeah, that's because of me. It's like, thank God that I was a conduit for resource and time and energy to pour into that person. Because honestly, people did that for me.
Totally.
And that's the best thing.
That's the
that
name
you
of the
do.
game.
Yeah, for sure.
And for so many business owners, and even I think sometimes people can be like, is she ever going to quit creating? Is she ever going to quit doing businesses? Does she not have enough? It's not about that for me. It's all about making a difference in people.
Yeah.
And I know you guys are very similar to that, but for me, it's always like, whether it's someone who's coming doing my boxes or the mailman who drops off the mail here every day, like I just want to make a difference.
Yeah.
And so if anything that I'm doing has that underlying theme, then you know what? I've been successful in life.
Yeah.
So for most people going in to build businesses, they think it's all about the money. And you guys all know the money can be great, but my goodness, what a roller coaster, right?
Yeah.
So that being said, like if you had to go back to your younger selves, what's the one thing you would tell yourself at 20 that you wish someone would have told you in business?
Don't sell the Bitcoin.
That's good. Did you actually purchase it back then?
I did. I didn't buy it. I mined it, and I had like one or two.
Did you have the machine set up?
Yeah.
Okay, I did look at doing that right here in this Jackie office
forgot
back in the
about
day.
that.
Yeah, I remember that.
I had fans put in. I was going to deck
That's
that out.
hilarious.
What happened?
I just didn't think it was going to take off.
Okay.
Silly me.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly what age I was or whatever, but I do remember hearing, because I was pretty nerdy, pretty, into all that stuff, hearing about it, setting up a wallet, seeing how, and it was very difficult back then. And somehow I got something into that wallet. I think I mined it. I don't know.
We've been really fortunate that like our interests have aligned and been ahead of the curve in a lot of instances.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes we haven't pulled the trigger and mined Bitcoin.
Right.
But, he told us about Bitcoin forever ago. We knew about like certain apps forever ago. So
That's
God
that
has just
edge I'm talking about.
God
with
has
you
had a
guys.
hand on us, and we just, happen to be nerdy enough and cool enough that it comes together. And That's the trend.
So I would go back and tell that young man, have a little bit more confidence in, because like making a mistake,
sure.
the consequences aren't so dire. So go ahead, go all in. But
what do you have to lose?
Make a Bitcoin mining machine. If you're out the money, I mean, you're going to have other problems anyways that you have to make rent, and you have to like believe in yourself enough. I'll say this. I was working in corporate America for a while, and it was around 2015. We had our third kid, and I just wasn't happy about how little time I was spending with them. I wasn't seeing, that was Rennie. That was my first son. And so I told Whitney, I said, hey, over this next year, let's kind of save and make a plan for me to make an exit. And I said, if it doesn't work, I promise you, just consider this a long vacation. I'll go back.
Right.
I was working for one of the major wireless carriers at the time, and I promised to go back to the lowest one on the totem pole. Like I was like, this is how much you can just. I promise you, I'm going to give it my all. But if it doesn't work, I'll just go back and get another job. What's the what's the worst that can happen? And so we drained our 401k. We I timed it with a big bonus that I was getting, got that bonus, put in my 2 weeks, and kind of the rest is history.
Right.
And that's what I would tell my 20-year-old self, that if you don't take the risks, you won't know, and have a little bit more confidence in your in the hunches, in the things that interest you.
Yeah.
Yes, there is a million different ways to fail. There's a million different reasons to fail. But just because other people are already there doesn't mean that you can't also have your little piece of the pie.
That's right.
It actually could help prove the model. Like, hey, maybe you are onto something if 100 other people are already there.
Right.
They're learn from their mistakes. And I think that's really, that's the key, that it's so difficult for a young person because age is experience, I could say.
Or they think they're not qualified and they need this certification and this degree.
I didn't have that issue. I was so overconfident.
I think I was too. So I agree.
As I'm hearing you say this, I'm like, I would actually skip 20. I would dial the time machine to like 27. And that's when actually things started getting real, because now we've got scale, we've got employees, our payroll is 7 figures. And I'm like, oh my God, what
you built the dinosaur.
And that's when I would have gotten off the DeLorean and been like, dude, don't lose it. Like, don't quit. Keep being risky, because I think there was a season there, maybe it was even after helping with Jackie, where I got
was it burnout?
Yeah, that, and just I got like overly conservative, and like, I'm thinking, man, I just don't want to take too many risks. We had some issues with some clients that were just, a lot of like big technology expectations of us. We had a bunch of developers on staff, both here in the States and abroad. And we're basically, we were growing at a rate that was like well beyond what I'd ever, this is like someone who never dreamed of being a CEO, kind of woke up one accidentally.
Right.
And then finally put my CEO pants on, and that almost scared me. Where I'm like, oh my God.
And they were too tight.
Yeah. Wow. I'm a grown up. I need to report to duty. So for me, there's a stint there where I feel like, maybe it was burnout and just so many like rattling things and issues with clients or issues with employees, or recognizing that like, man, I'm white knuckling this. I'm trying to be Superman. I'm trying to be the best boss and the best, client liaison and a husband and all these things.
Yeah.
And I think I like shrunk a little bit, where I was like, I don't want to rock the boat. Let me just bring back. So there was a point where Brave, we kind of scaled back. We cut off some services. We just sort of played it safe for like a year or two.
Yeah.
And I always think about that season where I'm like, on one hand, I think, well, God, maybe that was you forcing some rest and some like a sabbatical on me.
Right.
So that I don't want to, dig up and doubt what he planted in faith, so to speak.
Right.
But I do think now my mindset is like kind of what Ray's saying, like, man, but you gotta go all in and really commit. And especially when you feel like you've got clarity from the Lord on something.
That's right.
it's almost like I think about the parable of the talents, you know, and I think I don't want to be that wicked servant that was just burying the talent in the sand thinking, well, at least I didn't lose it.
Right.
Like, I want to discern, am I a 3-talent guy or am I a 5-talent guy, first of all? Because I don't want to get it twisted and think I'm supposed to be Warren Buffett part 2. And I'm just, you know, I'm not. But then once I know, man, like if he's given me 5 talents, like I can't be chilling thinking, well, this life is so great, God, thanks for everything. Because I think to that, I think God's like, it's not all for you.
For so much employees. Is given, much is required.
It's for your people, for your community, for your family, for the people that are going to be impacted by this business and the people that you're going to give generously to. Like, I need you to keep at this pace so that those people are blessed because, dude, you were the conduit. And if you don't do it, I'll use a rock.
That's right. That's right.
So that's kind of my mindset now.
No, that's good. I know I have seasons like that too, to where I'm like, why did I do this again? Let's pull everything in. And I also think it's the enemy. I think that we get to places to where God's about to take us through seasons, and then the enemy's like, you're not capable of that. Just back it up.
You're not ready.
So, you know, I think it happens to all business owners, but that's good insight. What about you, Ben?
For me, I think it's funny to hear their perspective on things, because I think, granted, I'm younger. I think I would say to slow down, to take better notes, and to be present in the moment. I think I've been playing catch up and chasing after them a lot in design, in life, you know. And I think I just wasn't appreciating where I was. That's good. Thinking about, I am 21 and I'm working at a major agency in Tampa, working on Nickelodeon, working with Panasonic, like big brands.
Cool stuff.
You know, and now at 32, I'm like, I feel a little bit like past my prime. But at the same time, it's like, no, even though I'm older, I feel like God has even more in store. And like the future is exciting and exhilarating in that way. So I think I was really fast to speak. I was really fast to just spit off my opinion and my thought, which is cool. I'm like, God gave me this opinion. God gave me discernment. And like, I feel very curated in my thoughts. Yep. But you can listen. You could take a pause. You can take a beat, you know? Even today, like when we deal with clients and we have meetings, it's funny to see people be so anxious and we got to do this and reactionary. And it's like, in this meeting, we could take 2 minutes to think about what we want to do and then execute. Even that is, you know, so
mind blowing for some people.
So I think, and then taking better notes. I had them as mentors and great, you know, thoughts. And tons of people have come in my life, pastors, our parents. And I just feel like I took those words in one ear, out the other. And now some of those things are coming back to play. And it's like, I wish I
should have bought Bitcoin.
I should have listened to Gabe. I should have listened to Ray. And again, I don't feel regret in that way. Yeah. But now I'm like, we talk about like our dad. He's like such a wise guy. And we always go to him. Wise guy. We always go to him for advice and, you know, ideas. And we're like, how did you get this way? And I feel like I'm living my life in a way, I'm going through those experiences that my dad went through. Wow. I'm preparing myself for the future generation, for my children, of like, I'm going to remember that lesson. I'm going to be able to share that. So now I feel like I'm journaling more than ever. I'm writing things down, even, you know, having phone calls with them. Ray and I just had a phone call and I took notes. Well, I didn't tell him, good. But I'm just like, oh, that's good. I want to ponder on that. I want to think on that with my quiet time with God. So it's the pausing, it's being in the moment, present, and taking notes and listening to what you have around you. Like you'll get your time to speak. Yeah. And you know, but it doesn't have to be right this second.
That's right.
You know, so I think that's what I would tell my younger self.
That is incredible. You guys have such clarity.
Can I say?
Yeah.
There's something that you said about like, you know, journaling and we're forgetful people.
No.
The human species.
Right.
In one ear, out the other. And so there's a story. You were saying the talents, the story about the parable about the talents. There's a story, right, about the 2 spies that returned back a good report of like, yeah, there's giants in the land that the Israelites were promised, but we could take them. They focused on the positive, milk and honey, right?
Right.
That 2 spy faith that they had, I think, was because they remembered the brand that God had shown them of like, haven't I been faithful?
Right.
Yeah. I literally delivered you out of Egypt. I literally parted the Red Sea. I've led you by a pillar of fire, what can't I do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you're going to doubt on the precipice, right there in the edge and the border. And I think their problem was they forgot who God is. And anytime you go and you do any type of business venture or anything, just ask yourself, like, nothing or maybe don't ask yourself, tell yourself this: nothing important is at risk.
Right.
What is important is your relationship with God, your loved ones. Hopefully you have, good relationships. None of that is at risk.
Right.
Take the step of faith. Go, draw your sword, take charge, take the risk, because that's where the magic happens. That's where the doing happens. And then God can blow wind into those sails and can help you, but certainly can't help you if you're on the other side of the river. You have to cross through.
Well, and I love the scripture that talks about in all your ways acknowledge him, and he's going to direct your path.
Yeah.
And I think that we start on these paths, and like what you said was so great about just like, hey, I was watching what he was doing, I was watching. But like you have this lane.
Yeah.
And if we just stay on that path and we acknowledge him, he's going to keep opening and closing the doors as he sees fits for each of us.
Absolutely.
But it's so easy to look over in someone else's lane, as business owners, as individuals, and just say, hey, well, what are they doing over there? And here I go.
Yeah.
So, so good. You guys always have such wisdom. Your parents did such a great job with all of you, and you're probably one of the most talented families I know. I just want to thank you guys for being here today. We'll probably have to do a part 2. I also just want to mention, because I know you're about to launch your retreat center in LEJ, which I'm super excited, just because I know it's got the DNA of both you and Grace.
Yes, absolutely.
And your wife is just another phenomenal entrepreneur. We've had her on the show before. And so for those listening too, where are they going to be able to locate this retreat center, what I call the creative space in LEJ, where they can go and get some of that creative juice that you guys have?
Yeah, definitely. So we've been building this kind of modern luxury cabin in the LEJ, Georgia area. So it's kind of like in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And like you said, it's going to be meant to be like a retreat center, and really just a place to find rest, renewal, so that
come up with business ideas.
Absolutely, yeah. Seriously, I'm thinking of all the reasons.
We have a Lopez Brother retreat booked.
We may need to do Lopez and Lively and do like a whole retreat about like branding.
There you go.
And coming up with taglines and bring your business idea, and we'll do the rest.
Absolutely. So that's kind of those R words were really like the inspiration for the name. So the name of the cabin is called R.House.
Love it.
Which is I'll make it really short. 10 plus years ago, my wife was in this kind of ministry school. And this is well before she had any entrepreneurial, ideas in her head. And so there was an exercise where her director was like, all right, everyone go find some private space. And I want you to journal with the Lord. And we actually want you to come up with a business. We want you to ask God for, it was like some entrepreneurial track. And so she's there for like music ministry. So she's like, well, what does this have to do with my life? So she goes to her quiet place. She's writing out all these ideas, and she keeps getting these R words like rest, renewal, rejuvenate, retreat, all these things. And so she starts to come up with this thought of like a retreat center. This is like a decade ago.
No way.
Yes. So, and then the Lord tells her, like, call it R.House, because she's just like looking at all these things, and she's like, okay, yeah, R.House. So she presents it to the class. They're like, oh, great job, whatever. And this goes in a vault. She forgets about it. So fast forward.
I love this.
Fast forward 10 years now. We're wanting to get into real estate. We had gone up there for a birthday of mine, stayed in a cabin. I fell in love. Literally, Grace doesn't even know it, but I'm like texting realtors while we're there.
It sounds like Ryan. Everywhere we go, we got to buy something here.
Exactly. So I use one of our precious vacation days and I schedule a realtor meeting.
Yep, that's what Ryan does.
So we tour the area. I'm like, sold. I want a place here. So anyways, fast forward, we ended up finding some acreage on this river. It's so gorgeous and peaceful and just, no one around. And so we start to drive up and back from Georgia, trying to oversee the progress, but me thinking branding, thinking naming. I'm like, oh, we're going to name this place. I'm going to have, branded towels and, coffee cups and mugs.
The brother group chat was filled with, guys, what do you think about this?
I wish I would have been in on that one.
It is an enjoyable group chat, I guess.
So it's taking me months to come up
It
with
was
a
almost
name.
named Chatterbox House.
Yeah,
Please stop.
exactly.
No,
Yeah.
just kidding.
Listen, I would lose it.
Chatterhouse. And so, one of the days that we're driving back from Georgia, I'm like so stumped, and I'm having like a moment of like, am I good at this anymore? Like, why can't I come up with this name? And so we're driving, and I'm like, babe, what do you think? You've kind of been silent in this process, And she's like, oh, what about R.House? And just without even knowing the story, I'm like, oh, I like that. R.House, yeah. Like, because one of the taglines we've been coming up with is like this rest, renew, retreat kind of thing. So I'm like, why didn't you say that?
She's
You've
been sitting on
it? Yeah. And then she tells me the story, and I'm like, wait, there's a meaning to it?
Oh my gosh.
I just thought it sounded good. So obviously we're all in on R.House, but here's a cool story about the logo. So fast forward, I'm so pumped on R.House. And I start to, and basically to answer your original question, you can check this out at visitr.house. That's our direct booking site. So you can get on the waiting list. We're going to be launching hopefully in the spring here of 2024. So anyways, I'm designing this kind of abstracted house icon logo thing with these kind of abstract vertical lines because the front of the house is like these vertical wood slats.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to like give some familiarity and some, when you see the logo and you see the house, you're like, oh, cool, there's connection.
Right.
So I'm drawing it. And this is around the same time that we're getting the word from our builder that the land grade is going to be really steep. So basically our floor plans now, what was meant to be this flat entrance into the house is going to be this crazy like Taj Mahal porch, steps.
Because of the ledge.
It's the mountains.
Right.
So it's just crazy.
Right.
So I'm super upset about that because this ruins my design from an accessibility, like ADA compliance standpoint. I'm like, this isn't good. Grandma's not going to rent now.
Right.
Mima can't get up the steps.
It cuts out some of your clients.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
So I'm so upset about it. And what ends up happening is we have to pay for this massive retaining wall, this like 50-foot concrete Goliath of a retaining wall. And it just messed up my renderings, essentially. So I'm like, man, this is not what I thought about. So one night I'm doing the logo and I'm thinking about this darn, retaining wall, and I'm so upset. And then I realized that now if I'm looking at the front of the house, if I'm going to make the logo actually reflect the house and I lower the bottom portion of this like icon to look like what the house is, it actually creates this lowercase r.
No way.
And I'm like, Grace, oh my God, this is so cool. And like, it's so funny because she was like, a second ago, you were like ready to sue this guy.
Wow.
And now you're like, I can't believe it. Thank you for the wall. So you'll see it when you guys, check out the website. But anyway, so it's just kind of that's another example of how you have to just sit with it. You have to give it space and tell the story that's actually being told there, or else I could have just done a nice basic house logo would have been fine.
Right.
But now there's a connectivity where, I'm hoping that as people come and they're like looking, they're like, oh, it's like one of those aha moments because it's abstract and it's
That's
subtle.
so cool.
But, it's a cool, meaningful thing. And then the fact that this was like this vision from the Lord years ago.
I wish she could find that paper.
I know.
And you guys could frame it.
I know.
She keeps a lot. There's a chance she might have it.
We've been looking for it. Yeah.
That would be so great.
And it's on brand because Gabe is super thoughtful. He is, when he was a kid, we couldn't just play Legos. He would be like, hold on.
Please stop.
No,
he would be, hold on. Every one of his castles or pirate ships or anything he built had to have a trap door.
Yeah, this is my calling card.
Hilarious.
So it had to be overly complicated. The rest of his stuff, he didn't have his army stood up. He didn't have anything. But he was like, but you're going to fall in this trap door.
Is there a trap door in this house?
Now I'm regretting not building that. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Yeah. Well, it's been an honor having you guys. So thank you so much. And you can check them out. I know they gave is Hosanna.
Hosanna.health. Yeah.
Hosanna.health.
Or HosannaHealth.com.
And then the LEJ you gave.
Yeah, visit r.house.
And then if they need you, they can find the late night on Instagram. How about that?
There you go.
The late night
All
with
right.
a K.
And we look forward to having you guys back again soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
much.
Thank you.